Good evening, and welcome to the latest happenings inside our federal machine.
It's Tuesday, November the 11th, 2025. This is Spathon bringing you another episode of The Swamp. Today is Veterans Day, which, of course, was the talk of the town across the D.C. swamp, with President Trump and Vice President Vance paying their respects to the tomb of the unknown soldier today. Also, members of the House are currently scrambling to return to D.C. to put a vote on the continuing resolution to reopen the government as soon as possible. It looks like it actually might get done before the end of the year. The Department of Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy gave a statement today on the current status of air travel across the American skies. And the U.S. Department of Justice has officially opened an investigation into the violent acts by the domestic terrorist organization known as Antifa, who engaged in rampant violence at UC Berkeley during a Turning Point USA event over the weekend. And Jon Stewart went on an epic rant last night, going ballistic over the Democrat senators and their decision to vote to end the government shutdown. And the Trump administration believes they are now on a clear path to ending the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau within the next year. And there's a lot more that's happening today, so we're just going to dive right in. And if you enjoyed the video, please give the video a quick like. And if you have an extra second, consider subscribing to the channel if you enjoy the daily updates. And if you leave a comment on this episode, I might just read it in the next episode. And also, every article that I'll come across in the video, it will be linked in the description below. And this is from the Department of War. To every veteran, we thank you for your strength, sacrifice, and love of country. America stands free because of you. Let's give this a watch.
Time and again, America's enemies have learned that if you threaten the American people, our soldiers are coming for you, because our soldiers never give up, never surrender, and never, ever quit. They fight, 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 and they win, win, win.
It's clear to me why President Trump says all the time we're the strongest, most powerful, most lethal, and most prepared military on the planet. Because you are that strength. You are that power. You are that lethality. And you are prepared. It is on your shoulders that we stand, and it is to you that I am committed each and every day to simply have your back.
Hell yeah. Happy Veterans Day. Happy Veterans Day from the relatives, the friends, the spouses, the children, from everybody. Happy Veterans Day. My grandfather, he was U.S. Air Force. My father, he was U.S. Air Force. I moved all over the place when I was a young kid. I think by the time I was in second grade, I went to like 3 or 4 different elementary schools, so we were all over the place. And my brother, he's been in the U.S. Air Force for almost 17 years now, which is really awesome. And he just so happens to be in the D.C. swamp, so fancy that. All right, so anyway, moving on to DOW rapid response to all our veterans. Thank you for your service. This is a statement from President Trump today. I actually have a few of these, but we'll just go through them one by one. I think I've got like 4 maybe in total. Pretty short, though.
Hallowed grounds where generations of American heroes rest in eternal glory. We gather to fulfill the sacred duty of every free man and woman. On Veterans Day, we honor those who have worn the uniform, who have borne the battle, who have stood to watch, and whose ranks have formed the mighty wall of flesh and blood, bravery and devotion that has defended our freedom for 250 years. Today, to every veteran, we love our veterans, we say the words too often left unsaid. Thank you for your service. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your service. Endless thanks for everyone's service on this Veterans Day. And doesn't make a difference if it's President Trump or if it were President Biden or who it might be. Regardless, I'm playing the statements from the President of the United States on this Veterans Day. So we're going to go to the next one. Quote, everything our country has achieved has been purchased by the muscle, spine, and steel of the United States military. We owe it all to the fierce and noble men and women of the Army, Navy, Air Force, Space Force, Coast Guard, and the U.S. Marines.
Everything we have, everything our country has achieved has been purchased by the muscle, spine, and steel of the United States military. We owe it all to the fierce and noble men and women of the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, Space Force, Coast Guard, and the United States Marines.
It's looking cold up there today, man. Actually, we broke our all-time record coldest day for November the 11th. The last time it was this cold on November 11th, where I live in St. Pete, was in 1892. It was like almost a 130-year record that we broke. The record was 44 degrees, and I woke up this morning to 36-degree temperature. So we shattered that record, man. It was frigid this morning. We don't get this cold until it's at least January. This is absolutely ridiculous, man. Global warming my ass. All right, so the next one from the president. It's another quote, so let's just get straight to the video.
Today we remember with overwhelming gratitude the more than 1 million American service members who have made the supreme sacrifice and laid down their lives for the good old USA. Generation after generation, America's warriors have left behind the comforts of home and family to face violence, evil, and death so that our families could know joy, goodness, and peace. We honor them so strongly. Our heroes have lived through unthinkable nightmares so we could live the American dream. And the American dream is coming back again, stronger than ever before.
Stronger than ever before. We have the next one. So under the Trump administration, we're restoring the pride and winning spirit of the U.S. military. That's why we've officially renamed the Department of Defense back to the original name, the Department of War.
Trump administration, we're restoring the pride and the winning spirit of the United States military. That's why we have officially renamed the Department of Defense back to the original name, Department of War.
Got a better ring to it
remember,
anyway.
We won World War I, we won World War II, we won everything in between, we won everything that came before, and then we brilliantly decided to change the name of this great thing that we all created together, and we became politically correct. We don't like being politically correct. So we're not going to be politically correct anymore. From now on, when we fight a war,
Amen.
We only fight for one reason, to win. We fight to win.
Well, and like, what is the legitimate argument behind naming it the Department of Defense? Is it because we're what, defending the world at this point? The United States is defending the world. I mean, that's really the point. That's kind of the point that it's become. But what are we defending the planet from? From socialism, from communism, the very thing that Democrats have become. It's absolutely crazy. So, yeah, change it back to the Department of War. Why not? Okay, so this is from the White House. Appears to be during the same speech. Today, to every veteran, we say the words too often left unsaid. Thank you for your service, President Donald J. Trump.
This morning on these hallowed grounds where generations of American heroes rest in eternal glory, we gather to fulfill the sacred duty of every free man and woman. On Veterans Day, we honor those who have worn the uniform, who have borne the battle, who have stood to watch, and whose ranks have formed the mighty wall of flesh and blood, bravery and devotion that has defended our freedom for 250 years. Today, to every veteran, we love our veterans, we say the words too often left unsaid. Thank you for your service. Thank you very much.
Can't say it enough. Thank you for your service. So Arlington National Cemetery today also visited the tomb of the unknown soldier. But first, J.D. Vance, to our nation's veterans, thank you for your service. Thank you for your sacrifice. And thank you for making us proud every single day. Happy Veterans Day, America.
First, to our nation's veterans, thank you. Thank you for serving and sacrificing. We've all got so many good stories of people that we served with over the years. During my 4 years of the Marine Corps, I met the very best of America, people who are willing to put on a uniform and risk their lives for their entire country. Just yesterday morning, I met people who lost limbs, who lost very, very important family members, who lost their psychological health, going out there and serving the United States of America. So whether you gave a little bit or whether you gave a lot, every single person who put on the uniform of this nation deserves our gratitude on this day especially, but every day. And so from the Vice President and the entire administration to our nation's veterans, thank you for your service, thank you for your sacrifice, and thank you for making us proud every single day.
Amen. All right, there's President Trump over there on the left. Okay, so we're going to move on to the next thing. I believe we're going to get to the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. Yeah, here we go. So President Trump and J.D. Vance, the Vice President and Secretary of Veterans Affairs, honors Americans' fallen heroes with solemn salute at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier on Veterans Day of 2025. All right, there you have it. The Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. And I have another video here from the same event today where President Trump lays the wreath. All right. Windy day today, man. Blustery, windy. It was windy here yesterday. So, and then I've got the entire video with President Trump and Vice President J.D. Vance delivers the remarks on Veterans Day. Of course, I'm not going to play the whole thing. I'm not even really going to play any of it, really, but I'm just pointing this out just to repost it. It'll be on my profile. It's linked in the description below, or you could just go straight to @the_White_House if you happen to be on the X platform. And a quick remark on the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. I believe it was earlier this year. They had the grounds open to the public for the first time in over 90 years. It was like the first time in like 96 years that they actually, they didn't have it roped off. They had it open. I don't think they had it completely open, but they had just that area of that courtyard open where the, like where members of the military, that you know how they do their thing on a daily basis, how they, I can't remember exactly what it was called, but how they relieve soldiers who are on duty, and you can go and witness it. But anyway, they had that open for, I think it was like 2 weeks, and something having to do, I think, with renovations or something like that, like which allowed it to be open for a really short amount of time. All right. Anyway, so there's that. That's linked. And also at the White House, America's veterans safeguard our nation's birthright of freedom. Because of their strength and courage, America stands safe, strong, and free, forever the bravest and mightiest nation on earth. Happy Veterans Day to all who served.
Across oceans, jungles, mountains, and deserts, and battlefields, and enemy camps across the globe, our veterans fought and bled to vanquish our enemies and preserve America's birthright of freedom. Because of you, America is safe. Because of you, America is strong. Because of you, America is free. And because of you, America will forever remain the bravest, mightiest, and greatest nation on the face of the earth.
Very cool, man. Very cool. I mean, there's still a few old timers that are still around from World War II. There's still a couple hanging around. I came across a post, not from one here in the U.S., although I'm sure that there's still World War II veterans that are still around. But I did read a brief story on a veteran from the UK, and how he was 16 years old when he enlisted. He ended up with 2 Purple Hearts. Like, he saw some crazy shit. I believe that he fought against the Yeah, he did. He fought against the Japanese in the Pacific. So I was reading up on some of his story the other day. All right, so I got this from House Republicans. Today, we are grateful to the 59 House Republicans who have served or are currently serving in our armed forces across almost every branch. House Republicans have answered our nation's call, and we've got all of the veterans, and mine's in here somewhere. Yeah, there she is, Anna Paulina Luna. That's my rep in Congress, who's a veteran. I also looked up, what about the Democrats, though? I couldn't find a post from the Democrats with regard to this. I'm not saying they didn't post it. I just didn't come across it. But I did do a quick Google search. How many Democrats did serve in the armed forces? How many veteran Democrats are there? So there's 18. There's only 18 House Democrats that served in the military. And if you want confirmation on that, I suppose I could Google that real quick. Let me see here. And actually, I stand very slightly corrected, as a matter of fact. There are 19 House Democrats who are veterans out of 78 total veterans in the House. This information is from the House Committee on Veterans Affairs. So 19 House Democrats. So yeah, I should have corrected that. But, 18, 19, who's counting? All right, so let's move on to the next thing. From Rep. Anna Paulina Luna. Again, that's my rep in Congress. I'm a veteran. My husband's a Purple Heart veteran. Today, we honor all who served. Happy Veterans Day. So I'll give this a quick play.
Hi, everyone. Congresswoman Luna here, your representative in Washington. I wanted to first and foremost thank you for allowing me to serve you and let you know that if you ever need help with your VA benefits or claims, don't hesitate to reach out to our office. We are both Air Force veterans, my husband and I, and understand firsthand the issues that are facing our community. So if you need help, don't hesitate to reach out. We've returned a lot of money, and frankly, you're owed it. Aside from that, I also wanted to be the first to let you know that after working with the Secretary of War, and frankly, after what happened with the last hurricane that came through here, we have officially received word and authorization that we will be getting a brand new Special Tactics Squadron right here in Tampa Bay. It's incredibly important, not just for our residents here in Pinellas County, especially with the hurricanes that face us every single year, but also too, it'll be beneficial for all Floridians. So thank you for allowing me to serve. God bless, and I look forward to seeing you soon.
Sweet, man.
Everyone,
that's good news.
Luna here, your
I'll take that win. All right. And my cat just jumped up here, communicating with my kitty during the video. So yeah, man, pretty good news. Yeah, it's not bad. All right, so Rep. Anna Paulina Luna wants more. We love you too, Nicki Minaj. And she said, dear veterans, thank you. Happy Veterans Day. So yeah, just figured might as well show that while I was scrolling through my feeds. I come across Rep. Anna Paulina Luna's content fairly often when I'm scrolling through on a daily basis because I follow her, obviously, because she's my rep in Congress, and she actually happens to follow me back, which is pretty cool. I think for anybody, if you're on the X platform, follow your local rep in Congress and, tweet at them a few times, and they'll probably end up following you back. It didn't take much effort for her to follow me back. But anyway, so moving on to Fox News. Debt-free vet, former Navy SEAL Bear Handelin is leading an effort to eliminate nearly $25 million in medical debt for veterans by Christmas.
I want to put up the landing
Very
page
noble.
from bornprimitive.com because it's got what you try to do along with Black Rifle Coffee Company here. 100% of profits pledged to erase up to $25 million in veteran medical benefits or medical bills, rather. How close are you to that number at this point? Do you know?
Yes, John, we're getting close. We usually get a big surge the last 5-6 hours of tonight, so it'll end at midnight tonight. So assuming we get that surge, I think we will hit the goal. And obviously being able to come on your show, you've had me on last year. This goes a long way in reaching a new audience and letting people know about the cause. But everything on bornprimitive.com and blackriflecoffee.com is fair game until midnight Pacific time tonight. So we hope people will come out and join the cause. And we were able to do $11 million in medical bills last year. So we wanted to build on that, more than double it. That's why we brought Black Rifle Coffee in. And we hope, when the dust settles on this, close to 10 to 12,000 people will be debt-free by Christmas. And as we know, financial distress is something that can really contribute to the veteran mental health pandemic that we see. So we hope, a lot of people will get some relief this holiday season.
Well, yeah, hopefully, especially with the government shutdown and all that nonsense going on, because I'm sure there's quite a few veterans that work in the federal government that could use the help. Plus, Black Rifle Coffee, they're in my grocery store. I'm sure they're nationwide. And breaking 911, House Speaker Mike Johnson is set to swear in Rep-elect Adelita Grijalva, I think that's how you pronounce it. Adelita Grijalva on Wednesday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. Democrats, they've been freaking out over this for, months now. It was like 2 months or something like that. They've been complaining constantly about swearing her in. And, of course, the government's been shut down for the last month, no thanks to the Democrats. So he's put a hold on this, and tomorrow he's going to swear her in. Of course, she's a Democrat. On Wednesday, November 12th, Speaker Johnson will hold a ceremonial swearing in for Representative-elect Adelita Grijalva, Democrat, Arizona, District 7. At approximately 4 p.m. Eastern, Rep-elect Grijalva will be sworn in on the House floor to represent the people of the 7th District of Arizona for the 119th Congress. So that's happening tomorrow. I guess mark your calendars if you literally have like nothing else to do. Okay, so this is from Reuters. Members of the House Representatives headed back to Washington after a 53-day break, braving congestion at the nation's tangled airports for a vote that could end the longest U.S. government shutdown in history. This is on Reuters.
Members of the Republican-controlled House of Representatives headed back to Washington.
Oh, yes, you had to throw that jab in there, didn't they? Well, the Republican-controlled Congress.
To reopen the government. A vote in the House was expected to occur Wednesday afternoon. Republican Representative.
Well, why don't you explain in more detail? Like, why is it just now opening? Is it because finally 8 Democrats came across and voted with Republicans to reopen it because Republicans voted, 14 times or perhaps 15 times in a row, and Democrats kept voting no, 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 and that's why the government's been shut down for the last, how many days are we up to right now? What is it, 41? Yeah, 41 days, 19 hours, 29 minutes, and 51 seconds. But who's counting?
Derek Van Orden of Wisconsin said in a post on X that he was hitting the road instead of booking a flight to return to the nation's capital.
Yeah, it's probably a better idea.
Down the government, the Democrats, the flights are too unreliable. So I'm going to ride on a motorcycle. It's going to take about 16 hours or so. It's going to be
shit, man.
But I will do my duty. I'm getting back to D.C. We're going to get this country back on track.
Oh, yeah, man, he's rolling up there on a motorcycle.
1,200 flights on Tuesday, the 5th consecutive day they have topped 1,000 since the government imposed mandatory flight reductions to address safety concerns. The shutdown has also disrupted the SNAP food aid program.
Well, and President Trump also noted, or he's going to recommend to the Department of Transportation, which I'm sure Sean Duffy, if they can get the funds together, I'm sure they're going to do this. Any air traffic controllers that have had perfect attendance throughout the shutdown, they're going to get a $10,000 bonus.
To higher demand at this Arizona food bank, including from Tony Miller.
Trump is a joke. He's a joke. I work hard, but those
somebody's stuck in an echo chamber.
It helps out, and he's starving the American people. I know he had lost a lot of supporters. He's a joke.
Remember, this is Reuters after all.
The shutdown is now
so you know who they're going to be interviewing.
Second day and is the longest in U.S. history. The deal to end it would extend funding through January 30th, setting the stage for another potential shutdown showdown.
Oh, yeah, you know that's coming.
Of
course that's coming.
On a path to keep adding about 1.8.
The reason why I think the second shutdown will happen, assuming that the House will vote to open it, we need the House to vote. Once the House votes, I'm assuming tomorrow, then President Trump will sign it, and then it'll be good to go. The government will be open until January, but that means that now there's a clock set with regard to the Affordable Care Act, because the ACA, just shocking to me that the Democrats agreed to not put the ACA tax credits in this continuing resolution bill. That's not going to be added in with what they're about to vote on in Congress tomorrow. So they're going to try to figure out exactly what they're going to do with Obamacare between now and January. And if they can't strike a deal between now and then, just look forward to another government shutdown.
$1 trillion a year to its $38 trillion in debt. The deal has divided Democrats, who had sought
that's
to
a problem.
Healthcare
Democrats
for 24 million Americans past the end of
and
the
rhinos.
year, when those subsidies are due to expire. Senate Republicans have agreed to hold a separate vote on the subsidies in December, but there is no guarantee it will pass the chamber. And House Speaker Mike Johnson has yet to
credit
say
extension.
whether
It better
the House
not pass.
will even hold a vote.
All right, so that's all we got for that. To be continued. We'll see what happens tomorrow in the House and see if they get it voted on. It would be surprising if they don't get enough to vote for it, although wouldn't be the most surprising thing ever if it gets jammed up in the House, but we'll just have to wait and see. This is from USDOT Rapid Response. Today at 4 p.m., Secretary Sean Duffy with the Department of Transportation, he holds a press conference at O'Hare Airport to provide updates on air travel amidst the government shutdown.
more challenging, more difficult for us.
So, by the way, it's a bit long. I'm assuming he's going to take questions. I won't play throughout the questions or the Q&A portion of it. I just figured I'd just go through the few minutes of his initial statement just to see what kind of updates we have, especially because there's a lot of people out there that are traveling for Thanksgiving, and it's kind of important to hear.
To accomplish that goal.
By the way, I have no idea why it's only coming through one side, left or right. I'm not sure. I'm reading that on my OBS. It's the video. It's not me. It's the video. So
we used to have four air traffic controllers retire every day. We now have 15 to 20 air traffic controllers retiring a day. So that's a problem. Long after you all finish covering the shutdown, we are going to be stuck dealing with this problem where we're about 2,000 controllers short, trying to make up that difference. We're going to do it. We're going to work on it. But that has
well, yeah, what they're doing, they had put a lot of advertising out for air traffic control school, especially during the summertime. I was seeing it all over X all summer from the Department of Transportation, inviting people to join. I don't remember the technical name for it. It's air traffic control school. And I think they were offering sign-on bonuses and things of that nature to try to get people on. And they met their quota. They got plenty of people who signed up for it. But the problem I think they're going to have is who's going to want to go through air traffic control school at this point after seeing the nightmare government shutdown. And is this going to be a problem that they're going to have to deal with in the future? I think regardless, you're still going to see enough people that are going to join the school because, you know, the air traffic controllers get paid really well. So.
Problem of the shutdown. I mentioned I wanted air traffic controllers to come back to work. So to be clear, anywhere from 24 to 48 hours after the government opens, they're going to get a photo ID and 70% of their pay. So 70% of their pay comes within 24 to 48 hours. So I encourage all of them to come to work, to be patriots and help navigate the airspace effectively for the American people. The remaining 30%, I think, will come in about a week after the government opens. I want to say thank you to Senate Democrats, the 8 of them that voted to open up the government.
Dude, what the fuck is going on with this sound, man? Hold on. Let me do this. This sound is absolutely atrocious. I'm going to try to jack up the gain on this. Hopefully we're not going to blow any eardrums out, but I'll do my best to control it.
That's critically important. This is now going to go to the House. I encourage every single Republican and Democrat to vote to open the government. And I don't want to be Chicken Little for you all. I'm going to give you what I see. So if the government doesn't open, if the House doesn't do its job, I've had questions about what happens for Thanksgiving. There's a lot of Thanksgiving travel. What's going to happen during that time frame? I'm going to tell you we are not going to get to Thanksgiving. You're going to see this Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. The big disruption thus far, massively more disruption as we come into the weekend if the government doesn't open.
Okay.
It is going to radically slow down. So the House has to do its work.
Right.
By the way, I'm
but
very
will
hopeful.
they?
It seems like they're in a good mood to come in and vote to open the government. And again, I hope they do that. We're going to take your questions in a moment, but I do want to let you hear from our acting ATO, head of our air traffic controllers, to talk about what he's seen. Then we'll come back and we'll take some of your questions. So, Frank?
All right, let's hear from him.
Good afternoon, and thank you, Mr. Secretary. But before I say anything else, I do want to thank the men and the women, the air traffic controllers, our supervisors, our technicians, our individuals that work at our FAA JTOC and Command Center who have kept this system running over unprecedented times. Under unsure times,
that's a
when
huge
the next
ask.
paycheck's going to come and how they're going to
Much
make
appreciated.
ends meet. And through it all, they kept everyone at this airport safe, as well as all the airports around the country. Mr. Secretary, I also want to thank you for visiting these facilities, spending time with our controllers and our technicians and our managers to understand the problem and to hear from them firsthand. I can't tell you how much it means to them to have a boss come and listen to that and listen to them and how we're going to get past this shutdown. From the Air Traffic Organization, we're extremely hopeful that we are on the eve of the shutdown. And the reason why I'm saying that is this past weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, witnessed 3 of the highest staffing trigger numbers out of the 4 that we've had on record during the shutdown.
Ooh, yikes. What does that mean?
For these whole entire days, we've seen 3 staffing triggers, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, that severely impacted the operation. Normally, what we will do is we'll put in ground delay programs that you'll see your flights being delayed. That's a normal protocol. This past weekend saw us put in airspace flow programs where we had to slow the entire country down, which forced massive cancellations and delays. This is not sustainable for our air traffic controllers, for our technicians, and for the American public. For our controllers who are working and worried about what's going to happen to them, rest assured, when the shutdown's over, they will be made whole, and they'll be made whole within a week. What's really important for us is getting back to business. And what I mean by that is Thanksgiving is coming up.
Yes, it is.
This is the time where everybody comes and connects with their loved ones.
Yes, it is.
This is the time where air traffic controllers and technicians say, it's go time.
And look, that is exactly why I believe the Democrats, they backed themselves into a corner and they had no choice in the Senate but to vote to pass the CR bill, which is why they were unable to get the Obamacare tax credits added to that bill. But they voted to pass it anyway, finally, because they know it's Thanksgiving. Family comes together during Thanksgiving. It's going to be a travel nightmare if they keep it shut down. Everybody's going to talk to everybody, and everybody's going to start realizing, oh, it is the Democrats who shut this down that kept me laid up in this airport and for the entirety of Thanksgiving, that made me either extremely late to showing up or I missed it altogether because I've been stuck in an airport this entire weekend. People talk to other people, and I believe that would absolutely have happened, and the Democrats would have taken shitloads of flack from that because people talk to other people, especially sitting and waiting in an airport for endless hours on end. So I believe that's why the Democrats in the Senate at least voted to pass it, even though they didn't get what they wanted, but they passed it anyway. And I think this is the exact reason why, because they knew starting this coming weekend, if they didn't reopen it, exactly what he was saying and what Sean Duffy was saying was that we were going to see severe severe backlog in flights, cancellations, and it could get to the point where they would have to shut down airspace for an entire airports if so few air traffic controllers show up. They wouldn't be able to effectively manage an entire airport. Imagine that nightmare.
Go time for us. We want the shutdown to be over. We want our controllers back on the boards doing what they do best, which is separating traffic and keeping everyone safe. We look forward to getting back to business once this shutdown is over and ensuring that we once again hold true to what we promised to everyone in this room and across the country. We got you. We'll keep you safe. And rest assured, we'll get through this together. Mr. Secretary.
Thank you. I want to thank Frank as well. He's done a masterful job at the FAA navigating this crisis for us. A couple points, and I'll take your questions. As we come into Thanksgiving, this is a Super Bowl of air traffic controlling. Right?
Oh, I'm sure it is. It's Thanksgiving weekend, for crying out loud.
And
busiest travel weekend of the year.
Is going to get us to a place where we can get controllers back in our facilities controlling the airspace. I want to bring up one issue that I'll take your questions. You saw on Friday, on Saturday, we reduced our flights by 4%. So 4% of commercial aviation had to be canceled.
They were talking 10%.
Now, some have claimed that this was based on politics. This was based on pressure. And I would just tell you that this information...
Well, wasn't it?
To do this reduction in flights by 4% on Saturday, it came from the safety office. The safety office made the recommendation, they elevated it, and we implemented it. And I'd also note on Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, the cancellations in the airspace were higher than 4%. Right? So some might argue we didn't cancel enough flights. Today, we increased it by another 2%. So we're at 6% of cancellations of flights in the airspace. Some have asked, when are you going to start rolling those back? The answer to that is this has all been data-based. We've seen incursions on runways. We've seen loss of separation in the airspace. And we've seen heightened complaints by pilots of the communication they're having with air traffic controllers. When this information goes in the wrong direction, we have to make decisions to keep people safe. You all saw it with the DCA air crash. The last administration didn't see the 85 near misses that happened in that airspace.
Oh, yeah.
They didn't take action. They didn't look at the data. So we are going to look at the data and make the best decisions possible to keep the traveling public safe. That's what we've done. When that data changes, we're going to start taking down from 6, maybe we'll go to 4, 2, and get back to normal air travel. But I want to just clarify what we've done and why we've done it with the reduction of flights. And by the way, I think that by having a system-wide reduction where people and airlines can think through the cancellations, that's far safer than seeing hotspots around the country and random cancellations and delays. It leaves airplanes stuck at certain airports. It leaves crews stuck in other locations. It's way harder to manage. So we think this was the best approach to reduce the risk in the system and improve safety. So with that, happy to take your questions.
All right. So I'll repost that if you want to hear the Q&A portion of that. So let me adjust my volume back to where it was. So imagine if the coin was flipped and it was the Republicans who voted to shut down the government, and it was Democrats that had they had the majority in Congress and they had the presidency, and they were managing what Sean Duffy's managing. Imagine Pete Buttigieg doing this. It wouldn't surprise me. Not saying that they would have done this definitively, but it wouldn't exactly surprise me if they shut down a lot more of the air traffic than Sean Duffy and the Department of Transportation ended up doing, just to make it more chaotic, to just make people more angry at Republicans in general. That honestly wouldn't have surprised me if they did that, just like unnecessarily ramped up the cancellations above and beyond what they should have. But thankfully, that's not the situation we're in. And I guess we're just going to have to see. Like they said, the whole thing's in the House's hands now. It was in the Senate for the last 40 days, and now it's going to move over to the Senate, or the House, I mean, and we'll see what the House of Representatives does, if they're going to vote on this continuing resolution bill. They've added some things to it, so it's not identical to what it was when it passed through the House originally. They tacked on a few things. I think something regarding the VA and the military, something along those lines. They threw in. I don't know why they even did that. I'm assuming because November 21st was supposed to be the big round of spending, the big package that they were supposed to be voting on, but the government's been shut down for all this time. They're going to push that back for probably a whole nother month, if not longer. So maybe there's a couple of pressing funding issues that are coming up that need immediately addressed. I'm assuming that's what the reason is for them tacking those things onto this bill that's heading over to the House, which is why they have to vote on it, because there were some changes made to it by the Senate. But still very, honestly, surprising to me that Democrats decided to pass it, even though they did not get anything with Obamacare in that bill. That really surprised me, because that was the one big thing that they were hanging on to. That, and not to mention the $1.5 trillion that they were demanding, which they initially shut down the government for in the first place. They didn't get that either. So, and I'm telling you, man, it's because Thanksgiving's coming up. People talk to other people. Families talk to families. Everybody talks. And, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to whittle down the true reason why the government was shut down and who was actually behind it. Excuse me. Who was actually behind it. So, all right. Anyway, moving on to Senate Republicans. Democrats are sick. Now, why would that be? So this is from Manu Raju. Was shutdown worth it? And Hickenlooper said, yeah, I think so. I hate it, but yeah, it was worth it. So let's hear this. It's about a minute long on CNN.
Shutdown worth it? Yeah, I think so. I hate it.
Wow.
But yeah, it was worth it. Definitely. We got people to pay attention to the fact that this is a traumatic, in many cases, life or death situation for people all over this country.
Was the shutdown worth
it? With what? With the Affordable Care Act? Something that Democrats created all on their own with zero Republican support. Not a single Republican voted for Obamacare or any of the tax subsidies subsequent to Obamacare getting passed, like way back in like 2009 or some shit. So was it worth it? Like 42 million people potentially losing their food benefits, and healthcare skyrocketing because Obamacare has been a thing all this time. It's just hilarious that that's the stance that dude took. Hickenlooper. Crazy.
I think it was, because I think the perception, we made it clear that this not just the healthcare issue, but the whole issue. I think
What?
it was remarkable when the president tried to
What
use
issue?
SNAP as the punishment to force us to capitulate.
It wasn't that at all. As a matter of fact, it was Democrats who decided to defund SNAP because SNAP benefits were up to be funded with the continuing resolution bill, and Democrats voted against it 14 times. So they voted against funding SNAP benefits 14 times in a row.
Now, as part of this bill, it would reopen parts of the federal government until the end of January 30th, and other parts of the federal government through September 30th of next year. But that issue about health care is still dividing Democrats very badly at this moment. The Speaker of the House,
yeah, it's their mess.
is making
It's not the
no
Republicans'
guarantees
mess.
that he would put a health care bill on the floor of the United States House, which is one big reason why we expect the Democratic leader, Hakeem Jeffries, to fight this hard and urge his members to vote against this tomorrow.
So yeah, that doesn't surprise me in any way, shape, or form. Does that surprise anybody that Hakeem Jeffries is going to try as hard as he can to get them to not vote for this bill because the Affordable Care Act is not in this bill? So how is Hakeem Jeffries going to spin that when he's on the floor, like demanding that no Democrats vote for this and effectively keep the government shut down? So is Hakeem Jeffries going to personally own the shutdown? Is he going to take full ownership of the shutdown? I would love to see that play out, but that would not surprise me. I fully believe him when he says that. So that's going to be very interesting to read up on that tomorrow. So I'm hoping we got some good video footage of that, which I'm sure that we're going to. I'm not sure if Hakeem Jeffries is going to give any speeches or anything tomorrow. Wouldn't surprise me if he does, because he's one of the leading Democrats in the House. So anyway, actually he is the leader, isn't he, of the Democrats? So Leader John Thune, after 41 long days, I'm glad that we finally have a clear path to ending this unnecessary shutdown in a responsible way that quickly pays federal workers and reopens the federal government. It also puts the Senate in a positive position to continue what we started months ago, funding as much of the government as possible through the regular order appropriations process. And then I've got this from TV News Now. Scott Jennings, one thing that came out of this entire fight is that Obamacare has been exposed as a complete and utter failure. We all know it. Everybody admits it. The other thing that came out of it is that Democrats are willing to make people suffer. We heard Democrat after Democrat say we just couldn't prolong the suffering. So it just looks like the quotes just continue on to the end of this. So I'll just play the video because they're going to cover it. And this, again, is on CNN, folks. This is CNN.
One thing that came out of this entire fight is that the healthcare system in this country has been, Obamacare, has been exposed as a complete and utter failure. We all know it now. Everybody.
Hallelujah. Finally, somebody says it.
Is that Democrats are willing to make people suffer. And you heard Democrat after Democrat today say, well, we just couldn't prolong the suffering. So they admit that their political tactics were designed to inflict suffering on the American people. We also
somebody looks a little ass
about
hurt.
Cynical politics in this, but the overall issue
they
of
hate to hear
healthcare
it.
is going to have to be dealt with because the system has failed.
People are such
Everyone,
scum.
I think it's bipartisan.
It's so scummy.
Now admits it, but I'm not sure that having Mike Johnson commit to giving billions of dollars to insurance companies for insurance that's not getting any better, it feels like it's getting worse to the American people.
Yeah,
is going to make
I
a
don't agree
difference.
with that either.
I could see Democrats and Republicans coming together to discuss that. Like, if we're going to spend this amount of money, should we be just giving it to insurance companies, or should we be doing something else with it that would actually have
Give
a
it to the
chance
people,
of
like Trump said.
making it feel like you could get seen by a doctor and get a better health outcome?
Yeah, let
But
us
what
choose
we're
our
doing
own
now,
shit.
writing
That's what
checks to
Obamacare
health
promised.
Insurance companies is not getting us any better outcomes at all.
Oh my God, dude, the looks on their faces, man. Like they are cringing their asses off while he's saying all that because he's absolutely correct. He's absolutely right. And everybody knows it. Everybody knows it. I mean, regardless if the tax credits were to go through, yeah, okay, people's premiums would stay the same, relatively the same amount as they have since 2022 due to the COVID tax credits for Obamacare. However, everyone's premiums are still in the hundreds and hundreds of dollars a month. And if these tax credits are expiring, so everybody's insurance is going to double or triple, whatever the amounts are that Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer were giving off. They were throwing out ranges anywhere from $2,000 increase per year. Chuck Schumer was saying $20,000 a year. I don't know if that was him misspeaking, but he absolutely said that some people's premiums for the Affordable Care Act are going to increase up to $20,000 for the next year because the tax credits are expiring. So absolutely the fault of the Democrats because they have owned Obamacare every single step of the way. All right, anyway, moving on to the redhead libertarian. 75% of Congress voted to table this in order to open the government, effectively neutralizing the legal hemp industry, turning a bunch of farmers into criminals and overriding states' rights. So, by the way, I took, there's quite a few posts in this episode tonight that are coming from other entities, not straight from the government, even though they're replying to Senator Rand Paul, which was part of the reason why I kept that in this episode. The main reason is because Veterans Day was just all the rage all day. That's all everybody was talking about, rightfully so. I mean, it's Veterans Day. Everybody's celebrating and, remembering everyone involved with Veterans Day, all the troops and everything. So that's pretty much what every account across the government, that's what they were talking about. So it was pretty difficult for me to get enough material to put together a show for tonight. Other than, I could have spent like 6 straight hours just nothing but Veterans Day material. There was plenty of Veterans Day stuff to go through that came out today. But all right. So anyway, this is in response to Senator Rand Paul, who said the hemp provision in this appropriations package wipes out nearly 100% of legal hemp products overnight, killing jobs, crushing farmers, and overriding 23 state laws that already regulate hemp responsibly. Our farmers have turned to hemp as a lifeline when fertilizer, fuel, and equipment costs skyrocketed and crop prices fell. Instead of working with us to crack down on bad actors and synthetic cannabinoids, some in Congress chose prohibition. Kentucky jobs are not collateral. Our farmers are not bargaining chips. And that's quite interesting that with this current CR bill that they snuck this in. Apparently they snuck it in. And obviously Rand Paul is voting against it. So it sounds like that his vote stood, that he did again for, I believe it's the 15th time, which was on Sunday night when they finally voted to pass the CR spending bill. Someone threw that provision in there somewhere, and Senator Rand Paul is very much against it. So let's hear what he has to say.
Instead of a clean CR, this bill contains language that has been airdropped in that will destroy hemp farming in Kentucky and across the United States.
And I hope he says when. Has this been in here the whole time? Because the CR bill, they stated it was only 23 pages, a very simple, very clean. Remember a million times I said clean, CR clean. All it has in it is just keeping the government open. Senator or Congressman Johnson, Speaker, he kept saying over and over again, like, this CR bill was just keep the lights on. It's only to keep the lights on. That's it. We're not throwing in anything, no funny business or anything like that. So this sounds like possibly somebody, I don't know who. Hopefully Senator Rand Paul says who it is, but sounds like they snuck this thing in, like literally just like over the last couple of days.
Tucked away on page 163, Title 7.
What?
Division B.
163?
This spending package is a provision that will shut down the hemp industry across the United States.
Okay, so he's probably talking about the big spending package that I referenced that they were working on passing on November 21, and that's assuming that the CR spending bill would have been passed back on October 1st. That must be the bill that he's referencing. Not sure if he's going to get into the details on that.
To regulate the hemp industry to death. The bill as it now stands overrides the regulatory frameworks of several states, cancels the collective decisions of hemp consumers, and destroys the livelihoods of hemp farmers. And it couldn't come at a worse time for America's farmers. Times are tough for our farmers. Farmers' costs have increased as the price of fertilizer and machinery have jumped, while prices for their crops like soybean, corn, and wheat have declined. For many farmers, hemp has proved to be a lifeline, a new cash crop. Farmers turn to growing hemp to mitigate the losses they've endured during this season of hardship. But that lifeline may soon be extinguished by this very legislation. The effective hemp ban included in this spending package is a result, we are told, of bad actors skirting the legal limits by overly enhancing the concentration of THC in their products. The hemp industry, myself and others, have come together and we have been willing to negotiate to get rid of the bad actors. And yet, instead, we are met with legislation that would be prohibition. Members of the industry, myself and others who are advocates of this, have been willing to get rid of synthetic cannabinoids. We've been willing to compromise at every turn, but we're met with the numbers in this bill which will eradicate the hemp industry. For the last several weeks, we've offered proposals with the goal of creating an environment in which the hemp industry could thrive and sell products. And we've been met with those who want to prohibit the industry from continuing.
Sounds like probably Republicans who are the ones who are probably working on prohibiting it, but maybe not. Maybe it's members of Congress who have ties to big pharma, like Pocahontas Warren, who took $600,000 during her last campaign from big pharma.
This bill's per serving THC content limit would make illegal any hemp product that contains more than 0.4 milligrams. That would be nearly 100% of the existing market.
That's ridiculous.
The numbers put
like, for
forward
real.
in this bill will eliminate 100% of the hemp products in our country. That amounts to an effective ban because the limit is so low that the products intended to manage pain or anxiety will lose their effect. The states have done what they're supposed to. The states have instituted laws. 23 states have instituted laws on hemp. None of them have limits anywhere close to what is being proposed in this bill. So what will happen is most of the things that your states have regulated, are regulating, and have made legal will be made illegal by this bill. This bill will effectively preempt and nullify all state laws concerning hemp. Currently, Maine limits THC to 3 milligrams per serving. That will be overruled. My home state limits THC to 5 milligrams in beverages. That will be overruled. Minnesota, Utah, Louisiana also have 5 milligrams per serving. Alabama and Georgia have 10 milligrams. Tennessee has 15 milligrams. The bill before us nullifies all these state laws and makes the hemp industry kaput. The language in this bill will outlaw all current hemp plants and seeds. It changes the definition of what a hemp plant is. It makes it so low that there may not even be an existing plant that can meet the parameters. But every plant in the country will have to be destroyed. Every hemp seed in the country will have to be destroyed. This is the most
All right, hold on. I'm going to come back to that. Let me just ask Grok real quick, and it usually takes it a minute to spit out an answer, but all right, I'm just curious to get the answer to that. Like, how much money is that exactly?
thoughtless, ignorant proposal to an industry that I've seen in a long, long time. The states have made progress, and more progress was coming. Most states have age limits. To add insult to injury, we are given this legislation in an appropriation bills. We have Senate rules against this. So I would recommend that we vote for this amendment, and my amendment would strip out the language, and I would like to transfer the remainder of my time to Senator Merkley.
And look, if that's your fight, you might want to get on the phone with your senator and your House rep. Send them emails, leave them voicemails, do everything you can to get in touch with them, and let them know that you're against it. So in 2024, during the presidential election, there was a bill that came up in my state in Florida regarding the legalization of smoking marijuana, and it didn't pass. It came close, but it didn't pass. So, yeah, that's the latest. It's still banned, still illegal in the state of Florida, except for medicinal. So anyway, so from Grok, the annual value of production in the U.S. hemp industry totaled $445 million in 2024. That seems low. I thought it'd be a lot higher than that. According to the USDA's National Hemp Report released in April of 2025, this represents a 40% increase from 2023 and includes all industrial hemp grown in the open, $417 million, and under protection, which is $28.7 million. And they've got like key breakdown if you want to pause the video and take a look at the numbers if you're curious. So 2024 changed from 2023. So the figure reflects the wholesale value of raw hemp production, which is floral, material, fiber, grain, and seed. The broader economic impact of the hemp industry, including processing, manufacturing, and retail sales of derived products such as CBD oils, textiles, and foods, is estimated higher by market research firms, ranging from $2 billion to $9 billion. Okay, so the original number didn't factor in what I was assuming it would have, which was the textiles, the foods. You know, it makes rope, man. You can make rope out of hemp. Depending on the scope, industrial applications versus full CBD consumer market. However, the USDA's production value is the most direct and official measure of quote-unquote money in the industry for the agricultural sector. All right. So there you go, man. Hemp industry. So Senator Rand Paul taking a stand on it. I mean, he is a doctor, so I mean, he would know better than most of how how important it is to Americans, especially those who are looking for pain relief, like he said. All right, so John Solomon, the Obamacare secret at the heart of the shutdown. Insurers made billions at taxpayer expense. This is on justthenews.com. So let's take a look at this article. The Obamacare secret at the heart of the shutdown. Insurers made billions at the expense of taxpayers. The 42-day federal shutdown forced by Democrats thrust the economics of Obamacare into the limelight and exposed an uncomfortable truth. An insurance industry whose executives are increasingly liberal donors has seen its earnings soar with the injection of taxpayer-funded subsidies that propped up Barack Obama's signature health program from collapse. The nation's largest health insurance companies have seen good business since Obamacare was first passed in 2010. Okay, all right, so I'll quit saying 2009. I'm sure that was probably when they wrote up the legislation, but it was officially passed in 2010. So when it was fully implemented in 2014, this has come in no small part because of federal government subsidies to the insurance industry, which government estimates show totaled $1.8 trillion in 2023 alone. Holy shit. All right, hold on. They've got a link to this, so I'll link that in the description. They're going to break down the details. Federal subsidies for health insurance 2023 to 2033. Federal subsidies for health insurance are estimated to be $1.8 trillion or 7% of gross domestic product. Oh my God, dude. Obamacare, it consumes 7% of our gross domestic product as far as the financials as far as financials go. So in CBO and JCT's projections, those net subsidies reached $3.3 trillion or 8.3% of GDP in 2023. Dude, this is a fucking catastrophe. Okay, so these subsidies were greatly expanded by the Biden administration during the COVID-19 pandemic as an emergency measure, but Democrats have fought to keep them permanent. It is ridiculous, dude, to permanently subsidize something. Dude, if you have to subsidize a government program, it already failed. It's a failure because you're essentially stealing money from taxpayers to prop up a system that desperately needs to keep funding because if you don't throw any subsidies at it, it will collapse. That is a failure of a program. This is unbelievable, man. A Just the News analysis of public financial records from 4 of the nation's largest health insurance companies found that net earnings ballooned about 216% from 2010 to 2024. United Health Group, in particular, which dominates the industry with a market share of around 15%, saw the largest explosion of profits. Not revenue, not costs, not intake of earnings or whatever you want to call it, straight up profits. The other 3 companies, Elevance, Centene, and Cigna, also experienced a marked growth in net earnings after the implementation of Obamacare. See, that's what happens when you allow the government to take over the insurance industry because they just write blank checks. There's really, of course there's regulation, but there's not really any real accountability. They just write blank checks. And as a result, the cost of healthcare explodes. It gets absolutely insane. So I bet it probably wouldn't take a whole lot of effort for Congress to drastically reduce the cost of healthcare. Probably. Like the reference I keep throwing out, $8,000 to get a CT scan if you're in the emergency room. Congress, and now I'm not saying like price fixing or anything. I don't know how exactly they would do it, but I'm sure they'd be able to get that thing reduced down to like, I don't know, $1,500 or something like that, which is even that is on the high end, but it's not hyperinflated like it is now. So one study found the weighted average of health insurance stock prices has grown 1,032% from 2010 when the law was passed, and 448% from 2013, the year the legislation's key provisions were implemented. Dude, this is so fucking criminal. This performance far outstripped the most popular S&P 500 exchange traded fund, which grew 251%, 139% respectively, the Paragon Health Institute reported last year. ETFs are designed to track the performance of specific stock indices and, as such, generally represent average market growth. So what do we have here? So in the blue, that's United Healthcare. And then let's see, Elevance is in the red, Centene is in the yellow, and Cigna is in the green. Absolutely insane, dude. Oh my God. Wasn't the CEO who was assassinated, wasn't he the United Healthcare CEO? I mean, I just find that to be interesting. I'm just pointing that out. Anyway, the company's earnings success has drawn the attention of President Trump, who on Sunday called Obamacare a scam by Democrats that benefits the health insurance industry. Obviously, it benefits the industry. We're talking 1,000% increase in, well, I don't think that was strictly speaking profits, though, was it? No, the stock prices. Stock prices ballooning up over 1,000% since Obamacare. It's fucking insane. All right, so, quote, Democrats claim to be working for, quote, unquote, the little guy and driving down your health insurance. But the Obamacare scam goes straight to their best friends in the insurance industry. They are making a killing, while health coverage only gets worse, Trump posted to Truth Social. If, quote, if Democrats get their way again, they're in for another huge payday at the expense of the American people. No deal. Republicans should give money directly to your personal health savings accounts that I expanded in our great big beautiful bill, Trump added. In recent years, individuals and PACs associated with these four health insurance companies have increasingly donated to Democratic presidential candidates, namely Biden and his Vice President Kamala Harris, whose administration expanded Obamacare subsidies while contributing at much lower rates to candidate Trump. How interesting. The 2024 election illustrates this trend. Individuals associated with the United Health Group contributed a total of $742,271 to Kamala Harris's campaign in 2024, which dwarfed the $158,000 received by the Trump campaign. How interesting. Individuals associated with Centene contributed almost $250,000 to Harris and only $22,000 to Donald Trump. Individuals associated with Cigna sent over $250,000 to Harris's campaign compared to just $99,000, just shy of $100,000 to Donald Trump's campaign. The only exception appears to be Elevance, which the records show did not make federal contributions in the 2024 cycle, according to Open Secrets. Now, where was Elevance in that graph? So Elevance was the red, right? Okay, so yeah, it was number 2 as far as on its height on the graph. All right, so let's see, where did I go? Okay, yeah, so here we go. So when earnings projections and investor calls, the insurance companies admit that fading subsidies would have a big impact on their bottom line. They have told their investors about plans to raise premiums on Obamacare plans and even exit markets to preserve their profit margins, showing how dependent the large companies have become on the government-backed exchanges. So in other words, if the Obamacare subsidies are going away, they're not going to let their bottom line get affected by it. So they're just going to double everybody's cost for health insurance instead of taking a hit on their bottom line. It's not even taking a hit because Obamacare, that monstrosity, should have never passed in the first place. Health insurance was, look, it wasn't perfect in the 2000s, but it sure as hell was 10 times better than it is right now. So in the grand scheme of things, their profit margins shouldn't be any different than they were back in 2010. But they are substantially better. And just, I don't know, man. I just hope that Republicans and Democrats work out a deal that really gets things back on track to where they were before this Obamacare freaking catastrophe happened. United Healthcare Group CEO Tim Noel told investors in an October 28th earnings call that if his company could not negotiate sustainable rates, it would withdraw from markets and raise rates. Dude, they're so evil. He estimated that these efforts would likely result in 2/3 of its Obamacare customers dropping enrollment. How do you like that, man? You're spending hundreds of dollars a month for this health insurance, which keeps going up year after year after year. And, you know, once the government decides to change course and try to give a little bit of reason and stability and affordability back to the American people, they're just going to start dropping everybody. Absolutely insane. Where we are able or unable to reach agreement on sustainable rates, we are enacting targeted service area reductions, Noel told investors. We believe these actions will establish a sustainable premium base, while likely reducing our ACA enrollment by approximately 2/3. Elevance, an Indianapolis-based insurance company, also cut its 2025 earnings guidance in July after increased healthcare utilization surged costs in government-backed programs, including both ACA markets and Medicare Advantage. Centene also pulled its guidance for investors, seeing market difficulty on the horizon. The four companies did not respond to email requests for comment. Of course they didn't. Let's see. It is a form of corruption. It is a form of corporate welfare to very profitable insurance companies, and it has to stop. Rep. Marionette Miller Meeks, a Republican from Iowa, told Just the News on Monday. More importantly, it doesn't bring health care costs down. It may make it more affordable for one person, but it doesn't have any incentive for the insurance companies to bring down healthcare costs. So all you're doing is that you're continuing ratcheting up premiums because the insurance companies are getting directly subsidized by the taxpayers. And that's what's most appalling about this, is that these subsidies are coming directly from you and me, from working American taxpayers. The Obamacare insurance exchanges also, you know what? And by the way, the fact that they're subsidizing our health care, they're essentially double dipping into each one of us. All of us who have health insurance, most of us have health insurance. So they're taking money from our taxes to pay for our health insurance, while they're also making us pay hundreds of dollars a month for our health insurance. That's exactly what they're doing. Anyway, about a third of all subsidized Obamacare health plans go unused by the insured, meaning that these plans translate into pure profits for the health insurance companies, completely at the expense of the American taxpayer. Yeah, I mean, if you don't use your health insurance, it is pure profit for them. During the height of the COVID-19 pandemic, President Joe Biden signed into law a bill that enhanced the Obamacare subsidies broadly as an emergency measure, which opened the door for such over coverage. It also raised the qualifying income cap for the tax credits to 400% of the poverty level, or $128,000 for a family of four. Good grief. It's just absolutely ridiculous, man. Look, to be fair, Obamacare, it was already insane before COVID even started, but I can only imagine how much worse that it's gotten since then. Quote, these are not about the ACA subsidies, just like the original Obamacare subsidies don't expire. Rep. Dusty Johnson, Republican South Dakota, told John Solomon Reports podcast, this is about the COVID-era tax credits that layer on top of that. And the tax credits don't go to Americans, they go directly to insurance companies. He said many people can get free policies through these pancaking layered tax credits, and some people don't even realize they're double covered because of deceptive sales tactics. 40% of these policies have never had a single claim applied to them. It's amazing. It shows that these are phantom policies. People aren't using them. They aren't making Americans healthier. Instead, they are just checks written to the insurance companies. So anyway, let me see how much more. All right, so it doesn't go much further. All right, I can wrap this up. So the expansion often resulted in federal taxpayers footing the bill for all or nearly all premium costs for silver and bronze plans, as well as gold plans, the Paragon Institute concluded. Bronze, silver, and gold describe increasing levels of insurance plans that decrease deductible costs at lower cost sharing as you climb the rungs. 35% of enrollees never file a claim. Large insurers benefit greatly from phantom enrollment as they collect billions of dollars in taxpayer funds to cover individuals who cost them nothing, wrote Nicholas Kleinworth, Liam Sigod, and John Graham in a Paragon Health Institute policy brief last month. The data shows that nearly 12 million enrollees, about 35% of all people enrolled in the Obamacare exchange, are actually zero-claim enrollees. This means that their health coverage did not translate into actual health care. Paragon found that the average profile of these enrollees is someone who is healthy and likely does not need full coverage for care. Additionally, the researchers identified worrying data that many were enrolled in full coverage without their knowledge, raising fraud concerns and leaving taxpayers to pick up the tab. But what caused this pattern of pervasive incentives? The expanded Obamacare subsidies that are now at risk due to government shutdown, the researchers say. Quote, our analysis shows that these enrollees are not just healthy enrollees with no need for care. They are part of a larger story about how Biden COVID credits are driving perverse incentives, the Paragon authors wrote. Wow, man. Absolutely ridiculous. So ridiculous, dude. Wow, man. All right. So, of course, that'll be linked below. I know that there were a bunch of different links that were in this article that they highlight. So if you want to get further into it, there's plenty of sub articles that they link to if you want to check that out further. But just absolutely mind-boggling, dude. All right, so moving on to Attorney General Pamela Bondi, Antifa. They are an existential threat to our nation. The violent riots at UC Berkeley last night are under full investigation by the FBI-led Joint Terrorism Task Force, which, by the way, I did mention at the opener of this episode that it happened. I think I said it was on Sunday. It was actually last night because she just posted this 5 hours ago. So this whole, uproar, all this violent extremism that happened with Antifa, it was last night. So anyway, we will continue to spare no expense unmasking all who commit and orchestrate acts of political violence. Under President Trump's leadership and pursuant to his executive order designating Antifa as a domestic terrorist organization, the Department of Justice and our law enforcement partners are dismantling violent networks that seek to intimidate Americans and suppress their free expression and First Amendment rights. Hell yeah, man. Investigate your asses off against Antifa. And I've got this One American News from 3 hours ago. Assistant Attorney General Harmeet Dillon has opened an investigation into the violent protest riots that disrupted a Turning Point USA rally at UC Berkeley, where 4 students were arrested for felony vandalism. And yeah, I don't know why they keep calling them violent protests. That by definition is a fucking riot. It's not a I mean, okay, fine. I guess you could call it one or the other, but either way, it's a riot. At least in my opinion, it is.
Assistant
So let's take
Attorney
a
General
watch.
Harmeet Dillon is launching an investigation into the violent protests that disrupted Turning Point USA rally. This was at UC Berkeley. Now, the probe was announced this morning, just hours after Monday night's clashes left attendees battling mass demonstrators on the historic UC Berkeley campus in California. Protesters gathered hours before the event hosted by the conservative student organization, with 4 students arrested for felony vandalism before doors even opened. In a post on X, Dillon highlighted similarities to a 2017 incident when she successfully sued Berkeley for discriminatory practices, forcing policy overhauls.
Yeah, because they're not there to terrorize people who are trying to go to a Turning Point USA event. Of course they're not doing that. Yeah, okay. Which is why they're being investigated. And I hope they get their asses prosecuted off. All right, so moving on to Fox News. Moments ago, Secretary of State Marco Rubio arrives in Canada for the G7 meeting. Looks like President Trump isn't going to attend, but Marco Rubio definitely there on his behalf. Looks like we have sound. It's in the other side, which I'm half deaf, so I can't hear that. So I'm assuming it's just the plane. So yeah, he's doing the meet and greet, shaking hands. So, I mean, we get the idea. You know, just talking, meet and greet. So that's going on. The G7 meeting happening in Canada with Marco Rubio. So I'm sure I'll be following up on that tomorrow. And Rapid Response 47, Senator Scott Bessent cooks MSNBC. Quote, why would you call it a bailout? In most bailouts, you don't make money. The U.S. government made money. I would rather use peace through economic strength than have to be shooting at narco boats coming offshore if Argentina collapsed. Yeah, that's a fair point.
How does a $20 billion bailout of Argentina help Americans? You're the president's point person on that. Can you explain to those here who are feeling the pinch, including America's farmers?
Wait, did he say 40 or 20? If he said 40 billion, that's inaccurate because 20 of the $40 billion sent to Argentina was a currency swap. We took $20 billion US dollars worth of Argentine pesos, and we gave them USD in exchange in the expectation that the Argentina's economy is going to improve, which would be a win for the U.S.
Why the United States is helping out Argentina?
Well, do you know what a swap line is?
Thank you.
It's currency swap, yes.
Yes, but what is that?
You're the Treasury Secretary.
Yes, but why would you call it a bailout?
That is how...
In most bailouts, you don't make money. The U.S. government made money. We used their financial balance sheet to stabilize the government. One of our great allies in Latin America during an...
Which I'm sure that Argentina is not the first country we've ever done this with. I'm sure it's probably happened dozens of times in the history of the U.S.
Election, the president there won in a landslide. The government's going to make money. And I would rather use peace through economic strength than have to be shooting at narco boats coming offshore if the government collapsed. We have a generational opportunity in Latin America to create allies.
Yeah, you know,
We've just saw an
patriotism.
election in Bolivia. We're probably going to see an election in Colombia. We've seen them in Ecuador. We're going to see them in Chile. So by stabilizing the economy there and making a profit, then that's a very good deal for the American people. And there's a lot we could have been doing for American farmers, but Democrats closed the government.
Well, yeah, and we're also trying to fight against socialism that's spreading throughout Latin America, most notably in Brazil. So for Argentina to be swinging back in the other direction, that would be a giant win. It would be a huge win, especially with the economy going back on the upswing again, because Argentina, in recent years, they were dealing with inflation at the 3 digits, if not up in the 4 digits, like hundreds of % on an annual basis that their economy was inflating. So, I mean, you think our inflation was bad during COVID? Well, we were dealing with, 15%, 18% at some point, I believe, with the inflation rate during the height of COVID. Imagine being in a country where it went up 300%. That would be a freaking catastrophe, but welcome to socialism. That's what you would get if we get socialism. Look at Argentina. Argentina, like what, 10,000%, probably 30,000% increase in their inflation rate. Zimbabwe, another classic example. All right, anyway, Deputy Secretary Jim O'Neill, moving on to the next thing. This is an update on infant botulism outbreak. Stop use of any by heart infant formula immediately. All product now recalled. Seek urgent medical care if your infant shows poor feeding, loss of head control, difficulty swallowing, or decreased facial expressions. And that's the image that's shared by the CDC. And you can find more info at cdc.gov/botulism. Not sure if they have a direct link to that. Oh, they actually do. Here you go. So I'll link that in the description. If you just so happen to be feeding your infant this, they're telling you, don't do it. You got to stop doing it now because it's a high risk of botulism in that formula. All right, and moving to Rep. Marjorie Taylor Greene. This was trending earlier. Restoring Americans' ability to raise a family on one income, to me, should be a top priority. It was once the norm in America, as it was. It's going to take I don't know, man. That's going to take a hell of a societal revolution for that to happen. I mean, because frankly, like most women especially, I don't know if I would say that most prefer to be working, but I would assume that most prefer to be working as opposed to being stay at home. I don't know, man. I could really get into the weeds on that. That could be like an entire, like probably multi-hour coverage on that whole topic, because that would cover a wide range of issues. But yeah, I absolutely agree with her for us to be at that point. But in order to do that, you're going to have to get a ton of people not only married or living together for an extended period of time, but you're going to have to get between those couples, one of them agreeing to not work anymore in order for the market to be able to get to a point where a single individual can earn enough money to take care of an entire household, because we live in a two-income society. We have for a long time. And I don't know if that's going to be happening anytime soon. And as far as women go, most women, they don't want to be the breadwinner of the family. They really don't. I mean, like most marriages, most long-term couples who live together where the woman's the breadwinner, they don't typically work out in the long run. Not saying they never do. I'm just saying typically they don't. Okay, so I'll move on to the New York Post. President Trump doubled down on his plan to give Americans a $2,000 dividend funded by tariff revenue, calling it major relief for middle and lower income families. He said the payments would deliver a big boost to the economy while helping reduce the national debt, which if it is going to go toward reducing the national debt, hopefully they're going to hit it at its principal and not just into the interest payment, which, by the way, we're hitting right at, if not just above, $1 trillion a year in just interest payments on the debt, which is about 20% of all federal government spending. It is psychotically bad. Let's take a look at this.
This country would be in such trouble, as they were for many years. That's why we owe $38 trillion.
Yeah, in part.
And one of the things we're going to...
Well, that's the tariffs. The lack of tariffs isn't the exclusive reason why we're $38 trillion in debt, although I'm sure it probably wouldn't be that high if we did have, especially tariffs at the level that Trump has implemented. No, it's this bad because the federal government's overbloated. It's extremely massive, and they just don't give a shit. The people in Congress, they just keep voting to pass all this ridiculous spending, like debt to GDP. Last I checked, it was like 120%. It's absolutely psychotic, man.
Issue a dividend to our middle income people and lower income people of about $2,000, and we're going to use the remaining tariffs to lower our debt. We're going to be lowering our debt, which is a national security thing. So we're doing a lot of good work.
Yeah.
And the numbers were reported,
to say the least,
correctly. The real numbers are trillions of dollars have been taken in or gotten in terms of investment from the tariffs. And so if that were ever reversed, it would be a disaster. Frankly, it would be a national security problem for our country. And nobody thinks it's going to be reversed. I think we had a very good court case, as you know,
well, I don't know.
Supreme Court right now. But if
we'll
that were ever
we'll have to
reversed,
wait.
you know, people are saying, oh, it's $1 billion. Some people said, oh, it's $2 billion. Well, that obviously we can handle very easily. But
no, I heard like $2 trillion, yeah.
Talking about
something like that.
Of the tariff income and all the investment income that's come into our country. You know, we have more than, I would say right now, more than $18 trillion. The biggest number ever is a tiny fraction of that for any country. China, the United States, the biggest number ever. If you look at the past administration, Biden, he did less than $1 trillion in 4 years. We're over 18 trillion. By the time my first year ends, we're going to have over $20 trillion of investment coming into the United States. It's unheard of.
Yeah, it's absolutely massive. And I believe he's absolutely right. If they overturn all of the tariffs that Trump has implemented, you probably will see companies like Apple where they pledge to invest $600 billion into the U.S. And the reason they're doing that is because the tariffs are in place, because they have a better long-term advantage financially if they set up shop inside the United States so they could avoid paying those tariffs over a period of years and decades. So investing $600 billion into the country to ramp up manufacturing for Apple products, it's a huge win for America. But if the tariffs are rolled back or canceled outright, then Apple might say, well, I mean, if we don't have to pay tariffs and we can just continue producing everything offshore, I think we're just going to keep doing that, because they would just be a better financial advantage for them, because they've already got all the operations in place. I mean, they're already cranking out all these products wherever they are in China, I'm assuming, where they're doing that now. And that's just one. That's only Apple. I mean, there's been hundreds of companies that have pledged billions of dollars in manufacturing into the U.S. because of the tariffs. All right, anyway, so New York Post once more. Can't effing believe it. Jon Stewart goes ballistic on Democrats for caving on the shutdown. And this is over on YouTube. I'm going to actually... Hold on, I'm going to open it up over on YouTube if I can. Yeah, here we go. Try to make it full screen, because the quality might be a bit better over here. Over here on YouTube, we got much better quality over here.
Will be brought to you by... I can't f***ing believe it. They f***ing caved on the shutdown. Not even a full week removed from the best election night results they've had in years.
The Daily Show's Jon Stewart.
Oh, give me a break on that, dude. That best, yeah, maybe they had the best election night in years, but dude, it was all blue states. It wasn't like that they swept a bunch of red states and Democrats are taking over the country. It wasn't that at all. It was Virginia, New Jersey, and New York.
Tore into Democrats on Monday night, fuming that they had caved by voting to end debate on a deal that would end the longest government shutdown in American history. 7 Democratic senators and an independent voted for their Republican counterparts to end the shutdown and reopen the government, Stewart seethed. Democrats, you sold out the entire shutdown not to get what you wanted, but for a promise to not get what you wanted later.
So is he conceding that it was the Democrats who shut down the federal government? Because it was.
The outrage comes as Democrats have nearly nothing to show for their key objectives in the impasse.
Yeah, they really don't. That's what's so surprising to me, that they actually ended up voting to reopen the government. They didn't really get anything. They didn't get anything with Obamacare. They didn't get anything from their $1.5 trillion that they demanded that they get, which was the initial reason why they shut it down. They didn't get any of that. And I know that's why. It's because of the Thanksgiving travel weekend.
Weeks of grounded and delayed
flights, that would be a disaster for Democrats.
Federal workers and put food stamps for hungry families on hold.
I mean, it already is,
In
frankly.
exchange for their vote to advance the package, Republican Senate Majority Leader John Thune agreed to give Democrats a vote on extending the enhanced Obamacare subsidies, the main priority of the Democrats' shutdown fight.
Oh, I can't wait to see what Hakeem Jeffries says tomorrow, man. I can't wait for that.
House Speaker Mike Johnson has also made no promise that they would even get a vote
fun
in the House if the subsidies extension passed in the Senate. Stewart isn't the only one to sound off at the fumbled finish to the 41-day shutdown. A number of Democrats have called for Minority Leader Chuck Schumer's ouster for failing to prevent defections from their party that allowed the measure to advance.
Which Senator Kennedy, he said that about a week ago, that he's like, watch, when they finally vote to reopen the government, the Democrats, Chuck Schumer's name will not be on that list, because he has to avoid voting to reopen it to take a position of strength, like saying that I fought tooth and nail, I fought for everybody, and you know, in a roundabout way, that's why he didn't vote for it. And surprise, surprise, his name wasn't among the 8 people who voted
Senator
to reopen
Schumer
the government.
is no longer effective and should be replaced. California Representative Ro Khanna chided on X. If you can't lead the fight,
Yeah,
to
the
stop
Democratic
healthcare
Socialists are
premiums
coming
from
after him.
skyrocketing for Americans,
That's what they all keep
what
saying.
will you fight for? To many Democrats, the shutdown surrender was a slap in the face, following the party's strong showing in the November 4th elections. With an amended bill being passed in the Senate, a vote to end the record-setting government shutdown is expected in the House of Representatives as early as 4 p.m. on Wednesday, according to Republican leaders. The continuing resolution expected to pass this week would fund the government through January 30th, and give back pay to federal workers furloughed since October 1st.
And it's going to be quite interesting tomorrow, man, because like they said, the Senate Democrats, they didn't really get anything out of this shutdown after keeping it shut down for this long of a time, like the longest shutdown in history. It's the longest shutdown now. And it just begs the question, what are House Democrats going to do tomorrow? What's Hakeem Jeffries going to do? We already heard like a word is claiming that Hakeem Jeffries is going to fight tooth and nail to keep this bill from passing because it did not include anything with the Obamacare tax credits. So it's going to be really interesting to see what happens. Maybe he'll just stay silent. Maybe they'll quietly vote to pass it because, look, it would be in their best interest to do so because the Obamacare tax credits are technically still on the table. They're just not with this current spending bill that they're going to pass. So really, the Democrats, they could just live to fight another day, or they could grandstand on this bill because it didn't include Obamacare. I don't know, man. It could go either way. I would go either heads or tails with this, man. It's a 50-50. All right, so moving on to breaking 911 from 4 hours ago. Watch, Big Pritz says he's disappointed the government will reopen. Quote, I do not think that the 8 members of the Senate that voted the way they did should have done that. We had an opportunity. This is on C-SPAN. All right, let's give this a watch.
Yes, sir. On Sunday, can you give us your first reaction on camera to that vote, and what should we make of the fact that the 7 Democrats and 1 independent are either not running imminently or retiring from office?
I have enormous respect and always have for Senator Durbin. I disagree with his vote. I do not think that the 8 members of the Senate that voted the way that they did should have done that. I think that we had an opportunity to make sure that we were protecting people's health care across the nation. But for whatever reason, those members decided to vote the way that they did. I'm disappointed. I think that more could have been done here. But there is another opportunity in January, and we'll see what happens.
Governor, to follow up with that,
you get nothing. You lose.
Your Senate candidate, Lieutenant Governor Juliana Stratton, or is this endorsement tainted?
I'm not going to speak to that here. I'll just say that I have worked with Senator Durbin over the years. He's a good person. He tries to do the right thing.
Yeah, okay.
I don't agree with what he did last Friday, or a couple of days ago, I guess. I don't agree with what he did, but I respect him, and I'm also, as many of you know, I believe that Juliana Stratton is the right person to replace him in the United States Senate, and she has stood foursquare for restoring health care and restoring SNAP benefits to the people of the state of Illinois.
Okay, so we heard it from Pritzker. We'll move to Reuters. Gavin Newsom, California governor, told the COP30 climate summit in Brazil that his state will keep prioritizing green technology while criticizing U.S. President Trump's dumb decision to reverse federal climate action. And I find this interesting because there's an electric generating facility called the Ivanpah Electric Facility that's in the Mojave Desert in, of course, California. And it was built sometime in the late 2000s, early 2010s. It cost billions of dollars to build it. And they're shutting it down. I think they're shutting it down next year because they're not getting any return on their investment. They're losing money operating this giant solar facility. It's one of those facilities where they've got all these mirrors that are surrounding like this big, it looks like a lighthouse type structure, and all of the solar energy from the mirrors are all concentrated on that central tower, which generates water into steam, turns turbines or whatever. But it's very ineffective in terms of its cost and the amount of electricity that it produces. But yet, you got people like Gavin Newsom who's saying that renewable energies, that's the future of our country because, yeah, that could totally power our AI infrastructure and the future of cryptocurrency or Bitcoin mining or whatever the hell, not to mention the increasing demand of electricity on a year-to-year basis with the rollout of electric vehicles, even though those are kind of on the decline. But anyway, here, this is about a minute long, so I'll give this a quick play.
China, they're not interested in this debate. They are flooding the zone.
Now, why is China not interested in the debate with regard to climate and renewable energy? And the reason is because it's ineffective. It's ineffective. That's why China is building 17, I think the number is 17, There's 17 coal power plants under construction in China right now, in addition to the countless dozens, if not hundreds, of coal power plants they have across the country. You think China, since they're producing who knows how many billions of solar panels that they're producing on an annual basis, or millions or whatever it is, like they've got to be like the #1 producer of renewable energy products of the entire world. Why aren't they using all of that stuff? I mean, they're the ones producing it. You think they'd be the ones that would be rolling it out across their country, but they're not. They're heavily reliant on coal energy. And the reason is because it doesn't fucking work. It might work for a little commune, like where, 300-400 hippies live in, like out in the woods somewhere. Yeah, sure, solar would be very effective for them. But on the grand scale of things, like on a national scale, no, come on, man.
And they're going
doesn't
to
work.
dominate in the next great global industry. So I'm here as well from an economic prism. The United States of America is dumb as we want to be on this topic, but the state of California is not. And so we are going to assert ourselves, we're going to lean in, and we are going to compete in this space. But we can't do that without all of you.
They're not,
and
they're failing.
This is how I'll end, with humility and grace and understanding that we need to build partnerships.
How much money is his nonprofit buddies earning from renewables?
So we're here with an open hand, not a closed fist. So we're doing everything in our power. There's a resistance to Trump and Trumpism that is emerging in the United States. But I hope people
it's called nuclear.
Globally is that he is
That's
not
the real
a
answer.
permanent fixture of my country.
Yeah, it's the real answer, dude. Not stupid freaking solar panels. Was this a child's game? All right, so check this out. So this is from Grok. So what is the Ivanpah Electric Generating Facility? Why is it closing? How much did it cost to build, to operate? So I'm going to see if it answered all of that for me. So the Ivanpah Solar Power Facility is a 392 megawatt concentrated solar power CSP plant in California's Mojave Desert, using 3 thermal towers to generate steam for electricity, operational since 2014. It will partially shut down in 2026, 2 of the 3 units, so it's mostly shutting down, really. And they're closing it down 13 years early due to inefficiency, also because of low output. And it also happens to be reliant on natural gas, fancy that, as well as high costs, environmental issues, and cheaper photovoltaic alternatives. It costs $2.2 billion to build it. The operational costs approximately $26 million annually in fixed maintenance, which is the 2014 estimate, so I'm sure it's much higher now. The total operations have been costly due to underperformance. Taxpayer funds, yes, backed by $1.6 billion from a Department of Energy loan guarantee, which covered 75% of the costs, and they also received a $500 million grant to build that facility. So, yeah, an absolute failure. This is California's renewable energy infrastructure, at least just one part of it. I mean, like I'm sure they have like many other renewable things going on. This isn't strictly speaking solar panels. These are mirrors. So let me see if I can just grab an image so you can get an idea. If you ever saw the movie Blade Runner 2049, at the very, very beginning, when Ryan Gosling's flying over, going to visit that dude's house at the very beginning, he flies over some of these fields that have like all these mirrors that are concentrated around these central towers. Yeah, here we go. This is a good image to look at. Let me see if I can make this larger. Yeah, so that's what it looks like. It's one of these things. Like, these are all mirrors, and they concentrate the sun on this central object, which inside it apparently has water on the inside, turns it into steam, turns a turbine, or however it works. That's at least the idea behind it. And it turned out to be very ineffective. So 75% of everything you see here was funded with your money, with taxpayer funds. And they're shutting it down 13 years early because it's ineffective. And it's so ineffective, they have to pump natural gas into this thing to keep it up running, to keep it operational. So that's California's renewable energy. That's Gavin Newsom's California renewable energy policies for you. Okay, so moving on. Let's move on to the next thing. The Associated Press. The K visa rolled out by Beijing last month is part of China's widening effort to catch up with the U.S. in the race for global talent and cutting-edge technology. So that's China's version of the H-1B program. And we'll take a quick watch.
The competition for tech talent is heating up, China is rolling out its own version of the H-1B visa to attract foreign tech workers. It's called the K visa, and here's everything you need to know about it. Beijing introduced the visa last month, and one reason behind it is that it wants to catch up with the US in the race for global talent and cutting-edge technology. Non-American professionals are also considering not coming to the US.
Well, they probably never needed it because 600,000 Chinese students have been coming over here to the United States to get all that education, and then they would take it back to China where they would apply it accordingly.
Because of the $100,000 fee for new applicants for H-1B visas.
Train Americans, stop bringing in people to take our jobs.
The K visa doesn't require
Couldn't
an
agree more.
applicant to have a job offer before applying. But some are questioning the move since foreign workers will add more pressure on Chinese citizens to find jobs in a competitive job market. For foreign workers, the language barrier
it's really
and
competitive in
the
China
communist
right now.
internet censorship might be potential drawbacks. Many job seekers are also likely to aim for jobs in leading global companies outside China, with the UK and European Union being popular options.
Yeah, there's a channel here on YouTube. I believe it's called China Observer. They come out with daily updates as to what's going on with the CCP, or mainly the just Chinese society alone, with regard to like marriage rates, the employment numbers, and they have a lot of really good coverage on that channel. And they talk about that frequently, that if you're over the age of 35 in China, it's becoming extremely hard to find a job, especially a higher paying job, because they want to hire younger Chinese workers because they tend to ask for less pay. Because if you're 35 and you've been in the industry for a while, obviously it would be assumed that you could command a higher salary. But that's just one of many reasons. Also, there's just like it's on a downswing in China. It has been for quite a while. So they got their own set of problems happening. So I'm not sure if that's really going to take hold, at least to the extent that it took hold here. And plus, will they actually pay these H-1B visa holders the same amount or anywhere close to the same amount that they were getting paid here in the U.S.? I mean, I would think probably not. So anyway, One American News report DOJ sending Senator panel Clinton corruption files. This is on One American News Network. So the DOJ sending Sen panel Clinton corruption files. And this was reported today at 2:13 p.m. The Clinton Foundation was used by foreign and domestic actors to influence the policy decisions of Bill and Hillary Clinton. According to Just the News report on Tuesday, Attorney General Pam Bondi and FBI Director Kash Patel are sending evidence of influence peddling to the Senate Judiciary Committee. Department of Justice officials reportedly have evidence pointing to a defense contractor and foreigners donating money to the foundation while Hillary was Secretary of State. That sounds like a no-no. Investigations into the dubious donations were squashed by the Obama DOJ. According to a source directly familiar with the documents, it's clear that there was an effort to obstruct legitimate inquiries into the foundation by blocking real investigation by line-level FBI agents and DOJ field prosecutors and keeping them from following the money. Bondi and Patel are expected to release these so-called Clinton corruption files to the public as soon as this week. I'll definitely be on the lookout for that. Stay informed, receive breaking news, so on and so forth. So definitely keep your eyes peeled for that. So I'll be watching out for that as soon as that comes out. I'll keep an eye on Pam Bondi's account, also Kash Patel's as well. All right, breaking 911. 79-year-old Vietnam vet who fatally shot a naked intruder speaks from the hospital bed. Quote, "I made sure I was gonna kill him." So like I said, it's Veterans Day. There wasn't a whole lot going on that was outside of Veterans Day with regard to content. So I was going through just the news in general and came across this and figured, why not just show it? Let's take a look.
Against him physically.
Tonight at 11, speaking out from his hospital bed with 2 broken legs. A Studio City grandfather telling us about his life and death confrontation with a naked man attacking his neighbors and then attacking him. Eyewitness News reporter Liz Nagy speaking with that 79-year-old Vietnam vet about the decisive action he took to end that man's violent
ABC 7,
rampage.
where is this? Maybe in LA?
Mission Hills with
No,
more.
that's not in LA. I don't know where that is.
Mark, the Vietnam veteran, will wake up here tomorrow morning on Veterans
Mission
Day in a
Hills.
hospital bed, unable to walk. Tonight, he says it was his military training and his sheer survival instincts that helped him save himself, his wife, and his neighbor. 79 years old with shattered bones in both legs, George Carco says he remembers every second, every motion of the violent attack.
I'll never forget it. Just before 7 a.m. Friday, security cameras near Carcos's Studio City home on Tahunga captured this bare-naked man meandering down the sidewalk, rambling in Spanish, flailing
I was saying, sounds like an illegal immigrant to me.
Get in through a neighbor's gate as Carcos alerted 911 of the bizarre behavior.
He ran into the.
Is he an undocumented migrant?
My neighbor's apartment there, and she started screaming. It was just horrendous.
At the sound of her cries for help, the Vietnam veteran fetched his gun. As the woman made an escape, Carcos's son says,
The guy came out after her, and he tried to talk him off the ledge, like, hey, stop, please stop, please stop. He was speaking Spanish, so my dad was like, started speaking Spanish to him, por favor, please stop.
Jumped on me, I don't know what he did, but he intertwined himself.
Pinned on the ground and writhing in pain with his wife, who has Parkinson's, standing nearby, Carcos says he somehow maneuvered just enough.
I pressed a gun against him and I fired 3 times. And the last shot, I made sure I was going to kill him.
Police believe this man who died at the scene may have been under the influence or
hopefully they don't use that against him.
Now Carcos, who has a long and expensive road to physically heal himself, says he did everything he could.
Tonight, Carcos's son says even with veterans benefits, medical bills are already starting to pile up. So the family has started a GoFundMe account. The family says tomorrow, LAPD officers who responded to that scene are going to visit Carcos here at the hospital and recognize him for his military service and his quick action last week. We're live in Mission Hills tonight. Liz Nagy, ABC 7 Eyewitness.
Oh, dude, I don't know if he should have said that he made sure that the third shot was going to kill him. I could absolutely see that being used against him. Hopefully they don't go after him for charges, but you just never know. You never know in a place like LA and these deep blue cities. Hopefully not. All right, so coming from Newsmax, the Trump administration has formally ruled that the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau's CFPB current funding structure is unlawful, a major step towards shutting down the controversial agency within the next year, according to a report. Again, over on Newsmax. And I'll take a quick look here. Okay, so that's not related. So the Trump administration has formally ruled that the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau current funding structure is unlawful. Could be shut down as early as next year. The determination disclosed late Monday in a federal court filing marks the administration's boldest move yet to rein in the CFPB, a regulatory body long criticized by conservatives as unconstitutional and unaccountable. According to the filing, the administration concluded the CFPB can no longer legally draw funds from the Federal Reserve, its usual source of money, because the Fed has been operating at a loss since 2022. The Department of Justice's Office of Legal Counsel said the CFPB is only entitled to use the Fed's combined earnings, which it now interprets to mean profits. If the Federal Reserve has no profits, it cannot transfer money to the CFPB, the DOJ wrote. The CFPB said it has enough reserves to operate through the end of this year, but expects to run out of cash in early 2026, effectively leaving the agency unable to function without new congressional appropriations. With Republicans widely opposed to the Bureau's existence, new funding appears unlikely. Acting Director Russ Vaught, a longtime critic of the CFPB's structure and spending, has signaled for months that the administration intended to phase out the agency. The decision could ultimately dismantle the Bureau, which was created by Democrats under the 2010 Dodd-Frank Act to oversee consumer financial products after the financial crisis back in 2008. Democrats and consumer advocates warn the move could end federal oversight of the $18 trillion consumer debt market, but conservatives argue that shutting down the CFPB would restore constitutional accountability and reduce regulatory burdens on lenders and small businesses, according to the report. The Justice Department opinion does not yet address whether the billions transferred from the Fed to the CFPB since 2022 were lawful or whether actions taken by the Bureau during that period would remain valid. Vaught has already frozen much of the CFPB's activity and is seeking court approval to dismiss most of its workforce. The D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals is weighing whether to uphold a ruling in the administration's favor, which could accelerate the agency's wind down. The decision represents a sweeping victory for critics who have long said the CFPB operates beyond Congress's control and a defining moment in the Trump administration's effort to dismantle what it views as unconstitutional executive agencies. Wow, man. Sounds like a big win. Yeah, it could be happening as early next year, man. Okay, Moving to News Nation, a 37-year-old Florida man fell through the ceiling of his residence as law enforcement was trying to apprehend him. He's facing charges for grand theft auto and resisting an officer. What the fuck? Good old Florida man's back. Good grief, man. Oh, man. Gotta love Florida, man. Always causing fucking trouble. Okay, RT. Mom Donnie says he'll be reaching out to the White House before taking office, but he doesn't rule out a fight, a likely outcome with Trump on the other end of the line.
I will be proactive in the work that I do, and I think that is because of the responsibility I hold to 8.5 million people.
Yeah, rolling out socialism.
It is important
New York City.
that you are open to working with anyone, no matter what disagreements you may have. And I've said this when it pertains to President Trump, that if President Trump wants to speak about lowering the cost of living or delivering cheaper groceries like he ran on, I'm there to have that conversation. The distinction will be that
good luck finding that
previous
in New York
administrations have looked to have that conversation to the benefit of themselves and the expense of the people that we look to serve.
Understood, but do you plan to call President Trump?
I will be reaching out to the White House and as we prepare to actually take office, because this is a relationship that will be critical to the success of the city.
So it wasn't just a hypothetical.
Why are you reaching out to the White House, dude? Shouldn't you be reaching out to the governor? I mean, you're not running an entire state, dude. You're running. Now, granted, it is the biggest city in the country. It's the financial hub of the U.S. I get all that. Although, like, I don't know why he thinks he's going to have like an ongoing direct communication with the president.
Scenario on our debate stage.
No.
You're actually going to call him. What will you say?
Well, I'll say that I'm here to work for the benefit of everyone that calls the city home, and that wherever there is a possibility for working together towards that end, I'm ready. And if it's to the expense of those New Yorkers, I will fight it.
Okay, well, now he doesn't have to take your call because he just heard what you said. Alrighty. So breaking 911, friendly reminder who the next mayor of New York City is. Let's watch this. This is a Conda Chop Chop with Ugandan rapper. At Libs and Woke. All right, well, we get the idea. I don't know if this is like copyright or whatever. It probably is. So I'm sure I played way too much of it if that's the case. But anyway, yeah, there it is. He's in a music video, a weird one. Mom Donnie. Yeah, with him saying that he's just going to bring down the cost of living in New York City just across the board, apparently. I would probably assume that would be an impossibility, especially in New York City. We'll just have to see. Gonna steal from the rich to give to the poor, I guess. All right, breaking 911 update. CEO Alexander Worm, 53, and his daughter Serena, 22, died when their private plane crashed into a Coral Springs pond while en route to deliver hurricane aid to Jamaica. Rest in peace. This is a wild video, man. Absolutely tragic. That was a plane crash. It crashed into a pond behind somebody's house. I mean, it just showed up out of nowhere. I mean, obviously it was low. I mean, I'm assuming he was probably aiming for it, maybe to try to soften the blow of landing. But, I mean, dude, that was going so freaking fast. So it looks like it's very, very slightly sped up. I was paying attention to the seconds on the clock, but still, man, they were going fast. Yeah, absolutely tragic. So that happened. Where was that again? Oh, over in Coral Springs. Yeah, man, not good. Rest in peace. Okay, so move into New York Post again. Wild video shows conductor asleep as train barrels at 50 miles an hour, throwing riders and nearly smashing into cars. Fell asleep? She fell asleep. Yeah, she was sleeping. We didn't crash. Now, the real question is will she get fired? Or will they just suspend her for a few days? Oh, wow, man. A broad freaking daylight, dude. Good grief. Why are you falling asleep on the job, lady? Putting people's lives at risk in San Francisco. Good grief. Okay, Newsmax. 2 homes owned by New York Attorney General Letitia James have reportedly been the subject of frequent police activity since her relatives moved in, with law enforcement responding to roughly 24 incidents at the properties. Just the drama just keeps on happening with Letitia James. And we'll take a quick look at this. I'm not sure if they'll have any video with regard to this or not. No, that's going to be unrelated again. So 2 homes owned by New York Attorney General Letitia James have been the subject of frequent police activity. 24 times the police have been called. James was indicted in October on charges of bank fraud and making a false statement and accused of violating loan terms in order to secure a more favorable interest rate on the Virginia properties. Quote, no one is above the law. The charges, as alleged in this case, represent intentional criminal acts and tremendous breaches of the public's trust, Interim U.S. Attorney Lindsay Halligan said at the time of the incident. I mean, I don't want to get into all that. I just want to get into this whole, like, what's going on with these cops being called over and over. So shortly after James closed on the home, her grandniece, Nakia Thompson, 36 years old, moved into the property with her 3 children. According to police records, officers have been dispatched to the residence on 12 separate occasions, including several days when multiple calls were received. Police were called to the home to serve warrants and subpoenas and to respond to incidents involving vandalism, domestic disputes, and reports of suspicious individuals. According to court documents, Thompson, who testified before a grand jury in June that she resided rent-free in James's home, is currently wanted by authorities in Forsyth County, North Carolina, for failing to complete her probation. Police have also been called 10 times in the past year to James's other Virginia property in Norfolk, where another grandniece, Kayla Thomason Hairston, and her mother and sister live. I mean, dude, she's a freaking attorney in New York City, and she's got, freaking like basically criminals living in her freaking houses. I mean, you can't make this up. Last week, James asked a federal judge to dismiss the criminal case against her. Oh, okay. Do you know who I am? Sounds like she was playing that card, claiming it was filed in retaliation for her office's civil fraud lawsuit against President Donald Trump and his family business. Oh my God, dude. It's fucking ridiculous. Quote, President Trump and his allies have used every insulting term in their vocabulary to deride Attorney General James and call for criminal penalties and retaliation for her exercise of constitutional rights and fulfillment of her statutory duties as New York's Attorney General, her lawyers wrote in a court filing. Okay, so they're appealing by emotion. We're citing emotion, Your Honor. She's all emotional over it. So you just got to dismiss it. Do you know who she is? James is one of the several high-profile figures indicted by the Trump administration in the past few months following charges against former FBI Director James Comey, former National Security Advisor John Bolton. Yes, they have. And it's going to be interesting to see where those go, too. Quite. Okay, one more from RT, and I think this is going to wrap up the episode. So let's see. We have to protect women. We cannot be R-worded in the bathrooms by men that want to say they're women. Tish Hyman confronts California State Senator and congressional hopeful Scott Wiener. That's hilarious. Hyman went viral after being accosted by a transgender at a Gold's Gym locker room.
Senator Wiener, as the only black lesbian here, can I please ask you a question because I flew here to do that? Yeah. Okay. As a lesbian woman who was attacked in the women's locker room at Gold's Gym this week by a self-identifying trans woman with a documented history of domestic violence, I'm deeply concerned about women's safety in female-only spaces. What would you say to women who are seeking assurance that their safety will be protected?
Trans women are women.
By California law.
Ask them that question.
Self-ID as women in women-only spaces, sir.
Look, that would be the simple question to ask them. That's what I would ask them. Are trans women?
Please tell me.
Yeah. So we want, everyone to be safe. And we also...
It's a hard question, isn't it, dude?
We have trans people, both men and women, who are men and women. So if you're a trans women, are women.
Senator, you've done great things with the bills you've passed with the housing. I've read a lot of your
Trans
bills.
women are women.
And like you said, there are bills that need to be opened up. And I'm telling you now, millions of women across America are being harassed and sexually assaulted in locker rooms. I'm a lesbian black woman. I'm not transphobic. I'm not homophobic. And I do respect a lot of the things you've done. But I do see a lot of these bills that you've passed that are dangerous for women and young children. And I understand that you're trying to be on a level playing field. And I'm here to represent my community because I hear a lot of things about my community in these bills. And I'm telling you as a woman, first and foremost, that this is dangerous, and we need your help because you're in the office. You're going to go in the Polisky spot. I want to support you. I have millions of people behind me watching this right now, and we want to know: are you going to protect women, not trans women? Women, trans women. Women. Listen, we need to protect women's safety. I was assaulted. I was assaulted. No, they're not.
There it is. Do you hear him? Trans women are women.
They are men. I was assaulted by men. He broke his wife's jaw so bad she needed reconstructive surgery. I'm a lesbian. I'm not transphobic and I'm black. So if there's another black woman in here,
she's got all the cards.
How they feel, please join in. But all of you are not. And I don't know who you are, what you are, but I'm a lesbian, and I'm telling you right now, men are harassing women in the locker room.
Let's let him answer the question.
Sure they are.
I'm just telling you, since y'all want to woo.
No, just let's.
Now I'm done. And by the way, I respect what you have done. I just want to let you know that.
Let's give the senator the opportunity.
I'm done.
I appreciate your point of view. Thank you. I'm so sorry that you were harassed.
Multiple times.
Multiple times.
I think we need to protect the safety of all women. And that obviously that's incredibly.
Well, see, if I were in his shoes, thank God I'm not. If I was in his shoes, I would say, well, fuck no, we're not going to pass anything like this. No, men are going to stay the fuck out of the locker rooms, or the bathrooms or whatever. That's exactly what would happen. But I would assume he would take the direction of, well, we're gonna let the police handle it. He was arrested, right? I mean, he should have been arrested, and if not, then we should start looking into arresting these people who are sexually assaulting women in freaking bathrooms. What the hell?
Know that trans women are also brutalized in this country.
Oh, he's gonna spin that around on her now.
And cisgender women are brutalized in this country, and we have to protect the safety of all women.
Wow. So even if it comes at the cost of women being assaulted in bathrooms, well, trans women are being assaulted too. That was his big answer. Well, like trans women, they're also being assaulted all over the country. So, you just got to fucking deal with it.
We cannot be raped in the bathrooms by men that want to say they're women. They're not women. They're not women. I'm leaving. It's okay, but I'm not going to take it. I am leaving because you know what? You guys are not protecting women. You're doing a lot. The bills that you're passing for the law, I read a lot of them. They're great. But this things with the trans, it's not right.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right.
My name is Tish Hyman.
Yep, they don't care about you at all. No, they don't. They only care about their cultist ideologies.
Reason to pass weird laws for children to transform. It's wrong. My sister's in jail. She can't get free tampons or soap, but she can get free transformation medication. Big Pharma at its best. Tired of it.
Yeah, ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. And none of these people give a shit. A lot of white people in here, by the way. That's quite interesting.
When we first started talking in 2008, when
yeah, that was probably their token person of color that they invited to the event, and they didn't expect it to go that way. All right, so I don't know if this is okay. So grown men with big D's in the women's locker room, things modern American women have to deal with. I mean, I guess we'll take a look at this. Oh, is this the same lady? I think.
Go Jim! Men, grown men with big dicks in the women's locker room. And that's why I'm getting kicked out, and I want to make sure the girls know. The fuck? Everybody saw that man in the fucking locker room. No one's saying shit.
Oh my God, dude, I'm sorry. That volume was insane.
It's fucking stupid. It's dangerous. Me naked in front of a man without my permission. I ain't the one who gets kicked out the gym, y'all. I'm terminated for not wanting men in the locker room.
Oh, good grief. I apologize for that volume level. The previous video was just extremely quiet, so I adjusted the volume and didn't turn it down. My apologies for that. Sorry about that. But yeah, look, that's a woman that should be platformed. Of course, they're not going to. They're going to do anything they can to silence her, but I don't think she's going to be silenced. I don't think so. I think she's probably going to show up anywhere she possibly can, especially if she's speaking the truth that she was assaulted. I mean, she's not going to go away quietly. Hell no. I mean, she shouldn't. She absolutely shouldn't. I mean, this is something that they have got to stop, and they're not going to, and she knows they're not going to. So hopefully she'll keep fighting the good fight, and keep men out of women's locker rooms. So anyway, that's all I've got for this episode. If you enjoyed the episode, please give the video a like and consider subscribing to the channel. It would mean a lot to me if you subscribe. And I'll drop a new show every evening covering the swamp and everyone living in it, the politicians, bureaucrats, agencies, and everything else. Also, I post daily episodes on X, so feel free to comment over there too if you'd like. And I thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a great rest of your night, and God bless America.